A New Earth 101. For those watching and listening who've not read the book yet, how do you explain the core message of A New Earth?
Well, first, the general context is that humanity or human beings are not a finished product, they are evolving. And the other context for it is the evolution of consciousness in human beings. And we are all part of that evolution of consciousness. And so the subtitle is Awakening to Your Life Purpose.
You may wonder why Eckhart is talking about evolution of consciousness. Aren't we conscious already? But Eckhart Tolle always referred to the normal consciousness that we normally refer to as normalized unconsciousness. Because to him, the people who think they are conscious, that means they are thinking or their mind, and then they are dealing with this pain body, mind and body. To me, this is a direct translation of Buddha's word of Sabbe Putakyana Ummattaka. That means all mundane people are insane. Consciousness is totally different dimension, which is I would call awareness or the our true nature. So this true nature is evolving according to Eckhart and his book, The New Earth. When I started reading that book, just halfway through, actually, I was just impressed, and then I was relating that to the Buddha's Agganna Sutra, because Buddha mentioned about Agganna Sutra, and then we discussed that on the previous episode as well. But there, Buddha mentioned that there was a time that no universe exists, but few sentient beings were living on blissfulness. In other words, they do not need any food or anything to intake to digest, but they have been living on blissfulness. And actually, it was named as Abhassara Brahma, in the sense that they don't have a body, they don't have any specific needs, because they live on blissfulness. Imagine. So that was the state in Eckhart's term, that evolved consciousness was like that. But that evolved consciousness has been tamed or tempered with little greediness, which I mentioned on the previous episode, that our thirst or our longing or our desire, which is like a thirst, if you compare to, which came through according to Agganna Sutra, because of they saw that nice milky liquid, which is being now labeled as the primordial soup by the scientists. So scientists are talking about this primordial soup is the one that really at the beginning, and then it evolved into this universe. So the parallel of Buddha's Agganna Sutra. So if I go back to Agganna Sutra, because what Buddha mentioned was that really that kind of a soup or the milk has been thickened little by little, and with that these beings had started their craving little by little, and then because of that craving, and then they started all the other part of this dependent origination. So if I follow through that whole process for you, the that particular the thirst or that desire came about because of they had that craving to this kind of a primordial soup. And That is actually ignorance. Because of that ignorance only they started doing that. Otherwise, they would have been enjoying their life with this, blissful state. But we've just seen this primordial soup or that milky liquid, they started craving for it. That craving started without knowing, or the ignorance of, we could call, I mean, in Pali, avijja, because of that ignorance of that their own state, and then started craving for this new state. They start to go along with that and then start this whole existence for them. So that is what the whole Paticca is, that really with that uh, avijja or the ignorance, then started this preparation, which is sanya, sanskara. And then with that preparation, they started this vijnana, which is our mind. And then with that, our mind, we started the name and form, which is Namarupa. Along with that Namarupa, they started this Salayatana, which is our six senses. Along with the six senses, we started, uh, having that feeling, or the touch or the contact and the feeling, and with that feeling, more craving, more desire. And then along with that, really, we started this whole process of samsara. So that is how it goes. I'm just giving a little shorter version of this Paticca or the dependent origination. If you want to go to the details, you can go to my previous episode and check on that. But with all that process, what has happened was we evolved. They evolved into a place where that really all this chaos in this world, like, wars going on, and then there are plenty of divisions in these societies and all that. That also explained at that Agganna Sutta, because Agganna Sutta was delivered to people that really who have ideology of that caste system. So Buddha has given that this caste system came through because of all this, evolution of that subtle craving for this something, and then they ignored their blissful life. So that is how it became, and then that is how it's existing right now. And the Buddha discovered that will stop if we actually understand that part, and if we totally understand it and let it go, we will revert back to a state of that Abhasara Brahma, in that blissful place that we can come to. So when Eckhart Tolle is talking about evolving consciousness, to me, what he's talking about is that to understand that our ignorance, and with that ignorance, how we became as these suffering beings. And what we need is to actually let go of that and then become that blissful beings. And the consciousness is evolved, that means you will become that blissful beings. So that is what Eckhart Tolle is giving it in different words. That is how I see it. It may be a different dimension, but I do see that really when Eckhart is talking about consciousness and the evolving the consciousness, that again we are talking about that blissful beings, as you may know, and then even whoever experience this kind of awareness, and then the awakening, or that shift has happened. Everybody who has been, at that transcendence, they will feel blissful, and they are blissful all the time. And there are examples like, Tolle and so many others. So that is what Buddha is teaching, the how to get to that place. So Eckhart Tolle is really echoing Buddha's teaching. So that is how I see it. So I do want to bring another discourse from Buddha, which is called Loka Sutra, which is translated sometime it has been translated as Cosmos Discourse, or the Cosmos Sutra, which is being delivered because somebody asked. the Buddha, how this universe began, how this world started. Just like everybody now in the science world that they are talking about this, how this universe started, or is it a big bang, or is it some kind of a that primordial soup is being scattered and then we are expanding and all that. So the similar question was asked from Buddha, and Buddha gave that really, oh, we call this world because of this our six senses creating this world. So that is being delivered in that Cosmos Sutra or the Loka Sutra. So Buddha is expressing his discovery, saying that really we are entangled with this world with our six senses. Because of our six senses bring so many messages into us, and then we are clinging with those messages. We are making or creating this world, and then we are living in this world from that dimension. Simpler version of that, that means that really since we are craving or we are clinging to many things in this world, we see this world as the reality. But in fact, actually, it is reality only to you, only that individual. Although we deal with other people, that also the dealing is actually projected within you. As I mentioned in the previous episode, that this is a hologram. As long as we are cling to that hologram, we think that that is our real world, but it is actually not the real world. It is just a relative world. But once you let go of this, you will be ended up or landing on the real world, where that really you don't have any craving, anything to hang on to, anything to hold on to with your consciousness. So that means you are evolving your consciousness to the level that we were talking about earlier, like that being who has been living without any food or anything because they had the abundance of happiness or the blissfulness. So that is a one stage of being that really you can get to. But further than that, I wanted to qualify it a little bit because the actual teaching of Buddhas go beyond that. He stopped at that point to answer the person's question. But if you really see that level or if you really experience this position, you would know it is again a little bit more of a craving or some sort of identity there. So you can let go of that identity too. So when you are away from that identity, that means that dependent origination is being stopped totally. So that is what Buddha referred to as nibbana or non-self.
To embody the evolution of consciousness, the flowering of consciousness. And that's to do with diminishment of the ego, to discover within yourself that which continuously prevents you from evolving.
So here Eckhart is talking about the obstacle to this evolving consciousness. So the obstacle for this evolving consciousness is our ego. So that is why he's referring to that ego need to diminish. So in other words, what Buddha mentioned was that really to let go of this our self or the our ego. So this is the similar parallel. So what Eckhart is talking about is that really the letting go of our self identity. In the same time, the letting go of our self identity means that really we are letting go of that our craving to our identity or our ego. So with that, what will happen is that flip will happen, in the sense that really in Eckhart's word, of course, consciousness will evolve beyond this new earth. With my own experience, really you have to let go of this ego. Once your ego is being diminished or the disappeared, whole universe that you have been pursuing will disappear as well. And then you can live responding to everything around you without reacting to them. This is the third episode of Dependent Origination in Plain English. Here I included the Loka Sutra, which is been translated as Cosmos Discourse. And in the next episode, I will give more detail about those two sutras, as well as elaborate the connection between them and the dependent origination and the universe, and how to diminish or the contract the universe that we has been created within us in our ego.